Kia ora, Matapelo here with your latest weather forecast. Well, over the last 24 to 36 hours, it's been a wet affair over here in the North Island and the top of the South Island, and it's been a busy week all round. But the good news is that the end is in sight, but not quite yet. For the rest of today, we've still got this wet weather over the North Island area. This band of heavy rain is slowly making its way off the North Island, and of course, the top of the South Island is still a place to keep an eye on. Over here in the western part of the South Island, where that wet weather was, still some rain expected, but not as heavy as what we've seen this past week. So looking at the overnight period, that rain band then moves off the North Island, and then our next focus is this low pressure system that will be moving across the country on Saturday. So back to today, we've got some watches and warnings in place, starting off with this severe thunderstorm watch that is in place until 9 p.m. tonight, Friday. The risk for Auckland has now moved off, so it's mostly the Coromandel Peninsula and eastwards that we're looking at that risk, with that risk over here in the eastern places, east of Whakatane, until the evening time. We've also still got some heavy rain watches and warnings. This orange warning goes until 10 p.m. tonight, Friday. The rest of these watches go until later on this evening as well. But again, the risk for Auckland has now moved off. Down here, this risk over here is for Saturday, while this risk in the Marlborough area, that rain warning has now expired, but there is a renewed possibility of heavy rain on Saturday. So do keep an eye on metservice.com for that. We've also got a windy situation expected as that low pressure moves across the country tomorrow. So some possible strong winds in those areas highlighted by those strong wind watches. Again, those details are available on metservice.com. So looking at the temperatures overnight, it was a warm one for us here in the North Island. Out in Napier, they had one of their warmest April nights as well, but no risk of that tonight. A much cooler affair, 14 degrees in Napier, and other parts of the North Island back in those lower double digits. For the South Island, it is also very similar to what we had this morning, 8 degrees out in Christchurch and only 5 degrees in Queenstown. So on Saturday, that low moves across the North Island, bringing with it still some rain expected, especially in those western parts and the lower North Island as well. Up north, maybe just a shower or two, and similarly into Auckland, which could see a brief period of heavier showers in the afternoon. Out here in the eastern part of the North Island, just some partly cloudy conditions, maybe some showers in the ranges of the Hawke's Bay, otherwise just a chance of a shower for the rest of the day. But of course, those winds will be something to watch as that low pressure crosses. For the South Island on Saturday, not quite out of the woods yet with that heavy rain, still expecting a wet day in the Tasman, Marlborough area. For the west coast and that west coast region, still some rain expected, but not as heavy as what we've seen. For the rest of the South Island, still a cloudy day expected with some periods of rain here and there throughout the day. And by the end of the day, finally, we start to see some of those fine breaks starting to make their way through. So having a look at the temperatures, a much cooler day expected on Saturday. We've got Auckland only at 20 degrees, down here in Taupo 16 degrees, and over here in the eastern parts, still relatively warm with Napier at 23. For the South Island, it's a cool day today on Friday, and that continues into Saturday. Those temperatures only into the lower to mid-teens for the bulk of the island. 11 degrees out in the Canterbury Plains, but on the western coastline, still about 17 and 18 degrees for folks out that way. So looking at Sunday, things finally start to settle down as that low and its fronts move away from the country. So a much more settled affair expected. Maybe just some showers here and there, but definitely a more settled story compared to what we've seen this week. That trend continues into Monday, that low well far away from us by then. Maybe out there in the western and mountainous areas, some partly cloudy conditions with showers here and there, but for the bulk of us, a much more settled day ahead. That's it from us here at MetService. Matewa.